Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and there has been some politics from your point of view last night. The TV debate between Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn. Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister and leader of the Conservative Party. Jeremy Corbyn, leader of the Labour Party, both of the prime ministerial candidates, effectively for the general election, even though that's not really how it works. But first, if you'd like to receive notifications of my further videos, then please click the subscribe button and the bell icon next to it. So in this video, what I want to talk about are what were the major discussion points arising from the debates, what were the major controversies, I suppose there were three sort of there, and what I thought of their answers, were any of them trapped into anything, and will it change anyone's mind? Now the first controversy happened before the debate itself, in that it's a debate between two leaders of political parties. Now this may seem fine for American viewers, for example, who are used to presidential election debates, and indeed these were modelled on them. We didn't really do debates between party leaders. It wasn't really a thing when I was growing up, or even most of my adult life. It started about 10 years ago, but really in this country, because we have parliamentary democracy, you don't elect a prime minister. A prime minister isn't voted for. Really, it should have included the spread of parties within Westminster. It definitely should have included the SNP and the Liberal Democrats, who had taken ITV, the TV channel, to court over failing to include them in the debates. That court case was lost, of course. I mean, I think they knew it would be, because obviously there's no legal requirement for these debates to take place. There's no legal requirement on either of these leaders to have attended them, or for the television the program makers to include everyone. It's hugely unfair, and it misrepresents the nature of our democracy. But I think it was more unfair, not so much from ITV. It's easy to blame ITV for this. I strongly suspect that this was a stipulation laid down by Boris Johnson. He would have refused to go on had there been any other political leaders there, because apart from anything else, they might be a lot better at debating than Jeremy Corbyn. That couldn't be too difficult. And also, there would be several people attacking him. So he was never going to stand for that. In the event, leaders of other political parties, not all, had been invited to attend a different debate, which happened about an hour after this one. I didn't watch that one. And again, therein lies, the another level of unfairness. So I've not watched that one. If anything interesting happens, I'll read it later. But I watched this one. Why is that? Am I saying that the other parties are less important? Sort of. I mean, really, it's not. I wasn't watching this because I wanted to watch it as a presidential style debate, but because what I wanted to specifically watch was Boris Johnson's answers to various things. I would have preferred it had other leaders been there as well, and they weren't. Next little controversy was about Jeremy Corbyn's glasses. So this was on. Now I have to say, because I was watching this with my girlfriend, and I was saying, she was commenting that someone had said on the WhatsApp, the Labour group WhatsApp, that his glasses are a bit wonky, aren't they? And I looked at her and I said, yeah, it's not a good look, is it? And she was saying they're not wonky, and she was right, they weren't. But it looked like there was, because there was a prism type lens in one of them that's used to correct an eye condition. Now, I have to say, because she always says the reason he wears smart suits now is because when he became leader, he was sort of told to. I preferred him when he wasn't ever scruffy. He was accused of being scruffy, but he used to wear more comfortable clothes, shall we say, not the sharp suit. Well, I wouldn't really describe them as sharp, but the smart suit, shall we say. I preferred that about him. He doesn't need to wear this. But anyway, my girlfriend was arguing that people would say he does to present himself to be, because some people will judge that. Now, if they're going to judge that, they're going to judge what looks like wonky glasses, because, it was an optical illusion, but it looked like it. I would have thought he should have just done with that. It was used to treat, weakened muscles in his right eye. I'd have said, just for that 1 hour, just put normal glasses on, mate. Because this is going to, and I've already seen some ridiculous stories coming about, it's used to treat a stroke and type thing. Well, it's not. But anything like that comes out is obviously going to be damaging. He's 70 years old. People are already going to try the angle. Oh, he's going to keel over at any moment. Do you really want to make him Prime Minister? But anyway, should we get on to the debate itself so we don't waste too much time? Boris Johnson was very much on message with his get Brexit done. Now, Jeremy Corbyn, I have to say, missed a lot of opportunities to cause a lot of damage to Boris Johnson. I'm going to go straight to one of the questions which I found most appalling out of the entire debate, which is where the presenter put it to each of them. She put a very difficult question to both of them on the issue of trust. So for Jeremy Corbyn, she brought up the issue of anti-Semitism within the party, and with Boris Johnson, she brought up the issue of his lying and the fact that he was described as a former staffer while he was mayor of London as someone who betrays everyone he ever meets. Now, Jeremy Corbyn did tackle the anti-Semitism one, not very robustly, but he did tackle it. He answered the question, in other words, in the only way that he felt he could. Boris Johnson did not answer his question at all. He basically just went on a rant about Jeremy Corbyn's Brexit position again, because ultimately that's what it kept going back to. He was told all the way through, just plug Brexit, which is what you would do because Brexit is Labour's open wound. And he was poking at it all night, as he was always going to do. Unfortunately, Corbyn did not repay the favours. And what we both said, my girlfriend and I both said, is with Boris Johnson on the issue of lying, why didn't Jeremy Corbyn remind the public that Boris Johnson has been found to have lied by the Supreme Court? Not in court, of course, but the Supreme Court, basically backed up the Scottish Court of Session's view that Boris Johnson lied about his reasons for proroguing Parliament and he acted unlawfully. Why didn't he bring that up? There were so many opportunities to really put Boris Johnson under the cosh, and it never actually happened. Other things that were brought up, so the Brexit position was Boris Johnson was always going to win that. Jeremy Corbyn did say the only sensible things he could do, that in actual fact Boris Johnson's deal doesn't deliver Brexit. It means at least 7 more years of negotiating a trade deal with the US. And he also made the point that that trade deal with the US is totally incompatible with a trade deal with the EU, which it is. But that's one of those things where you believe it or you don't. But still, he was right to say it. That's not a criticism. That was the right thing to say in that situation. On Brexit, Boris Johnson was always going to come out on top because he has this simple message. And of course, it's nonsense. Of course, it's ridiculous. He's not going to do a great deal. He's going to take us out with no deal at the end of 2020. But again, you either believe it or you don't. Whereas Labour's position is obviously ridiculous. Boris Johnson made the very easy point that Labour's position is, well, he first of all talks about the dither and delay because they haven't got a deal ready to go. But where Boris Johnson made valid points is he said, Jeremy Corbyn has not revealed what he intends his deal to be. Boris Johnson is saying, you can read my deal, it's there in black and white. What you're asking, Jeremy Corbyn is asking you to vote Labour for what? What is the form of Brexit that he wants to deliver to you? He hasn't said, which he hasn't. So, and also he was saying, and then he's not even saying how he's going to campaign on it, because he either has to campaign to remain or he has to campaign against his own deal, which is a nonsense position. And that was always going to be bad. I was in a little bit of dismay, I have to say, ahead of the debate, because I'd read that the format was going to be roughly 50% Brexit and 50% everything else. And I thought, well, bloody hell, that's going to be bad. In the event, it was always Brexit, because no matter what the question was, Boris Johnson turned it into a Brexit question. I said to someone earlier in the day with Jeremy Corbyn, if he's got any brains, he will turn every single question into pointing at one of the allegations, proven or otherwise, or just suspected at the moment, against Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson was part of a group, a senior member of a group, that broke electoral law during the Brexit referendum. Boris Johnson acted unlawfully in proroguing Parliament. Supreme Courts have confirmed that. Boris Johnson is under investigation regarding the Jennifer Arcuri scandal. Boris Johnson is sitting on a report that suggests that Russia interfered with our polling systems, the Brexit referendum and general elections, and is refusing to release that. There are so many allegations, so many investigations going into Boris Johnson. How many of them did Jeremy Corbyn manage to bring up? 0. Not one. Not even, as I alluded to before, on the question of trust and, can you trust this politician? Not once did Jeremy Corbyn say, yeah, there's quite a lot of police investigations into you and groups that you were a senior part of. Why is that exactly? Why is that? And the rest of it went as you might expect. It's obviously on the NHS, Jeremy Corbyn was making the point that the Conservatives have a terrible record. He brought up some of those records and said that, Labour are going to fund and save the NHS. The Conservatives are going to continue to wreck it. Obviously, Boris Johnson said he was going to carry on funding the NHS and only he could be trusted with it. He said we can only fund the NHS with our dynamic and robust economy that we have now. This dynamic and robust economy had a mere 0.3% growth this quarter, and in the previous quarter was negative growth. That's his idea of a dynamic and robust economy, my giddy aunt. And it's been terrible throughout the Conservatives' time. It all went as you would expect in terms of the tit for tat. Boris Johnson again came out with his lie of 40 new hospitals, it was as soon as he announced that was like a couple of months ago, I think. He announced it turned out it would meant a lick of paint for 6 hospitals. But he's still carrying on with the lie of 40 new hospitals. But again, no questions were asked about the detail of it. Maybe there was no point. People aren't interested in details, are they? But there were no telling blows landed at all by Corbyn during the whole thing. There were no telling blows landed by Johnson on Corbyn either, it has to be said. At the end of it, would I say it would have changed anyone's minds? Not really. But there is one third controversy, and that is that during the TV debate, apparently, the Conservatives rebranded one of their social media accounts to look like a fact-checking site, UK fact-checking. So obviously in a TV debate, if people are really interested, who's telling the truth? Because they're both saying contradictory things. Who's telling the truth? I'll do a fact-check search, come up with this, and of course this is a Conservative-run one. It's not checking facts for you. It's backing up what Boris Johnson's saying and denouncing what Jeremy Corbyn's saying. Dirty tricks again. But then again, the Conservatives don't know how to do anything other than play dirty, do they? So I suppose there was no surprise there. So that's my reading of the debate. I would suggest if you were a supporter of Johnson's position before, you still are. If you were a supporter of Corbyn's position before, you still are. Or if you were opposed to either one of them, you'll support the other based on your opposition to the other. That's still the case. If you were wavering, I would still suggest you're wavering based on that. I don't think it enlightened anyone. As I say, it's very difficult sometimes to get these things across. But what, as I say, I was most appalled at is when the really difficult question was asked of both of them. Jeremy Corbyn with anti-Semitism, and he answered it. Whether he answered it to your satisfaction is another matter. I don't think he could, but he did answer it. Boris Johnson, when he was asked about his lying and his betrayal, no. He just basically turned it into attack, and the presenter did not say, no, actually, that wasn't the question. Will you answer the question? She didn't insist on that. That was bad. That was appalling, I would think. But that's my reading of the TV debate anyway. If you want further details, of course, you'll be able to find that online somewhere, I'm sure. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, then don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, then also please click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.